Welcome, everyone. I'm going to give all of our friends a few minutes to pop on. I'm about a minute early. So I'll give you a sec to head on in here. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here for you. I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but I don't know what it is. So this is what we're going to do. Welcome, welcome. If you are catching the recording, I am so glad you're here. Thanks for creating the time to be with us and to just really honor yourself, you know, especially in a moment such as this where there's like crazy town happening everywhere in the world. I think it's so wonderful that you've decided to be here. I'm gonna double check and make sure my sound's working too. Seems that it is. Awesome. Okay. Back here we go. I have got my diffuser pumping here. Have you all seen the new Roam diffuser? It is so cool. It's charging right now, but you can literally take it off the charging dock and move it anywhere you want without an electrical outlet, which is super awesome. Good morning, good morning. Give everyone a quick second to pop in here.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh, it's so beautiful. I'm good. I'm really excited.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. I'm glad to have you here.
Yes. How are you doing this morning?
Good. I couldn't sleep. I was so excited. So I actually woke up bright and early and worked on some other things. So yeah.
Awesome. Here, I'll turn this on for a second.
Hi. In your little recording studio.
I know. It's been a lot of fun to like build it out and get some stuff in here. So feels good.
That's so cool. Awesome. Yeah. And your audio is amazing, of course.
Oh, thank you.
Of course, of course. I was just about to.
Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
I was just about to light some Palo Santo wood while I give everybody a couple minutes to hop in. Have you?
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Lit Palo Santo before?
I don't know if I know specifically what Palo Santo wood is. I do a lot of like pinyon wood. We really enjoy that. Mm-hmm. How is Palo Santo, like what is it like?
It's similar.
Okay.
So it's super earthy, but very cleansing. Kind of like a good sage alternative.
Ooh, that's not Palo Santo.
Palo Santo, yeah. You can usually get
Palo
it.
Santo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Palo Santo. You can usually get it at any like hippie stores, wherever they sell the sage and the crystals, you can find it.
Follow the sage and the crystals. Mm-hmm. I think I've seen that actually in like one of those packs of some incense. They do like a Palo Santo kind of like incense.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I'll check that out. I need to order some more pinyon because we love that.
Mm-hmm. So good. Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Make sure that my recording is going, which it should be. Yes. Awesome. All right. Here we go. Let's talk about stress, baby. That's what we want to talk about on this. It's actually kind of a dreary Thursday morning here, so it's probably a good timing to talk about stress and how our moods are impacted by the world at large. If you are catching the recording or joining us live and we haven't met yet, my name is Kelly. I'm so happy that you're here. Thanks for joining me. You might know me from somewhere on social media behind the brand The Wholesome Nomad. Some of you might be in our essential oil space. However you came here to this webinar live or the replay, I am just so grateful that you're here. And I just want to take a minute for you to honor yourself for carving out time to do this, especially it's kind of early for some of my West Coast friends in the middle of the week, in the midst of the chaos. It feels like this is the last possible thing that you probably really want to be doing right now. So I'm so, so grateful that you're here and just really want to honor that you took the time out to be here. So thanks for joining me. If we haven't met yet, I am a women's health advocate. I'm a self-care coach. I am an essential oil certified specialist, and I'm also a self-proclaimed stress enthusiast, meaning I definitely have dealt with stress most of my life and not dealt with it well. It's part of the reason why this little webinar was born, because I've been feeling all the feels, just like I'm sure you guys have too, especially this year. And honestly, in retrospect, I've kind of thrived off of stress. most of my life. And I think I speak for a lot of us, especially those of us who are go-getters, entrepreneurs, type A's. If you are in corporate America, this is probably somewhat identifies with you as well, because it's just kind of our culture. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about stress, and hopefully it's going to be fun. So I didn't mean for that to play. If you recognize this quote and this little clip, then you're my people. If you're not, that's totally okay. You're still my people, but maybe I just dated myself. So this is from the movie 10 Things I Hate About You. And she says, I know you can be overwhelmed and you can be underwhelmed, but can you ever just be whelmed? And when I was writing this webinar, I had this thought of like, I would really like to feel whelmed right now. I don't want to be overwhelmed anymore. I don't really want to feel underwhelmed, because there's been some underwhelming parts of this year too. I just kind of want to like I just want to be whelmed, right? So there's some wisdom in this, and I'm showing my 90s kid for sure. But I hope that you enjoy it. If you've never seen the movie, add that to your list, because it's going to be something that you'll want to catch. Okay, so I want to start off by talking about the differences between acute and chronic stress. And this might seem super obvious and basic to you. So if you're like, I've got this, I'm past this, you can tune me out for a few minutes. I promise though to make it digestible, because I think sometimes we think that they're two separate things. And a lot of times acute and chronic stress have a big overlap. And I know for me, I have always been in the space of like, oh, I know that acute stress is just something I deal with all the time. But I would never in the past really identify with someone as being chronically stressed, you know, and now actually kind of taking a look at it, I feel like the world is chronically stressed, especially in 2020. And a lot of us have been living in a state of chronic stress for arguably most of our adult lives, if not sooner. You know, my mom was diagnosed with cancer when I was 13. And so I would argue, if I like reach back into the archives of the timeline of my life, I've probably been under some chronic stress since about then. You know, kind of having to grow up really fast and take care of my little brother and step into that role, maybe a little too early, and that's okay. It's, you know, the cards we were dealt, but it kind of shines an interesting light on how things are now in my adult life, and probably why I so actively want to try to work on responding to stress in a healthier way. So when something is acute, like if you have an acute, you know, sickness, it's usually very short term, right? So think of like, I have an acute cough. I just have like a little tickle, maybe there's something blowing in the air. It's going to be short term. It's going to be over really quickly. So those examples of acute stress in your life might be like a traffic jam. You know, you're on your way to church or work or wherever, and there's a traffic jam that sets you back a few minutes. For me, it's tangled Christmas lights, y'all. I can't. I hate them so much. It puts me into such like a stress ball, but it's only for a minute. And then as soon as they're untangled or I pass it off to my husband, then we're good to go, right? Or like an argument with your boss. If it's something that you have, it happens at work or it happens on a Zoom call, and then you sort it out the next day and you move on and you're great, that's like an acute form of stress. The body is really well designed to handle acute stress. That's kind of like the fight or flight system response that we are just part of our genetic makeup, right? And originally it was used to like save us from getting eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. So it's so great that it's there, and we need it there for those moments of like emergency or tangled Christmas lights or whatever it might be for you, so that we can kind of sort through that. So you kind of have this, I won't get too gritty in the science, although I totally could, but if this interests you, go and search it out. But the science behind it, basically you kind of have this like spike of different hormones and different things happening in your stress response when you're in acute stress. And then it kind of has like a pretty easy crash too. So it's almost like a sugar crash, right? You kind of go high really fast and then you come back down. When we compare that with something that's chronic, that's like long term. So you've probably heard of like chronic illness, right? That's something that's happening for a long time. So when we're under chronic stress, I want you to think about like maybe you are a bus driver, or you live in LA or New York and you have to commute in, right? And you are in daily traffic jams at least twice a day to and from work or to and from your destination. That's not going to be acute stress anymore in your body. That's now chronic stress, right? Because it's happening all the time. If you have an ailing loved one, you know, like I mentioned, caring for my mom, she underwent cancer treatment for 16 years. That's chronic stress. That's a lot of time and energy and focus on this like big thing, right? The year 2020 is chronic stress. Like if you needed a really good definition of what does chronic stress look like, just look at March to now of 2020. And I think you kind of have a pretty good idea of it. So the interesting thing with chronic stress is our body doesn't really have a good way to process that, because that initial stress response was designed to save us from a saber-toothed tiger. We weren't living amongst the saber-toothed tigers all the time, right? So our bodies are not designed to process that amount of stress and that peak for long periods of time. So what ends up happening is we have this like spike in hormones and different things that happen in our body. And again, I won't get into it, but if it's interesting to you, go look it up because it's fascinating to me. And then what happens is it becomes like our new normal. So we have this like spike in hormones, and then our body's just like, oh, this is how we live life now. Okay, so it just keeps mass producing some of those stress hormones, and it never comes down. Or if it does, it comes down a little bit and then peaks back up again when you have an acute stress. You have those tangled Christmas lights, okay? So hopefully this makes sense. You can kind of understand the difference between the two and also how they can overlap. You know, I would say when COVID-19 first hit, that was like an acute moment of stress. We're all like, wow, okay, this is going to be 2 weeks long, right? Remember those days back in March when they were like, be in your houses for 2 weeks and we got this and we're going to be okay? That was like acute stress. We were all kind of stressed out. We hoarded some toilet paper. It was a little cray for a while. And then 2 weeks came and went, and then 2 months came and went. And here we are in November, and it's still happening, right? So this is now, it's transitioned into becoming chronic stress because we never kind of came down off of that. So that being said, I think we can all agree that we're all under chronic stress, no matter where you are in the world or what you do for a living, or if, you know, even if 2020 has been not as difficult for you as maybe some of the people in your life, we're feeling it, right? There's like tension in the air. Add, you know, a landmark election and some civil unrest, at least here in the States, and you've got yourself like the most perfect recipe for chronic stress and tension disaster. This can manifest itself in a lot of different ways. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. But if you follow me on Instagram, we kind of had this conversation, and I got probably, I think, 30 or 40 responses from you guys that were so wonderful. I was up late just like feeling the feels with you. And we talked about this concept of looking at ourselves as children and how we were shown to respond to stress. So how was it modeled to you when you were little? For example, for me, when my mom got stressed, I lived in a single family home. We would go to my dad's on the weekends. So when my mom got stressed, she would get manic and she would clean all the things, or she would start a new project and burn herself out and get sick. That's kind of what I observed Monday through Friday, right? On the weekends, we'd go to my dad's, and he was a robbery homicide detective for a long time. So under lots of chronic stress at his job, he would self-medicate with alcohol and tobacco, and then numb out. So he would take naps. We would be alone a lot. He would watch TV for long periods of time. He would watch lots of football, right? And it's so interesting. And I don't say any of this to judge or blame or put shame on anyone, but because it's very interesting as an adult to kind of zoom out and look at that. And I can see evidence of both of them in my life and the way that I mitigate stress. And again, this is not to throw shame on ourselves or get stuck in a spiral, right? But just to kind of shine a little flashlight on it so that you can understand what the patterns are and how, you know, your upbringing shaped you, and work towards setting new habits and new models for yourself going forward. Even if you don't have kids, we can still model that for the child within, or for our spouses, or for anybody who might be in your life, right? We're rubbing elbows with people constantly, even in the virtual space, and that energy absolutely rubs off on each other. So just kind of take a minute and think about that and use that as like a construct as we move through some of this information today. Okay, so a little sciencey, but I promise I won't get too in depth. So you have a physiological, a bodily stress response that happens when you're under stress, either acute or chronic, and you know the difference between those two now. So what happens is your hypothalamus, which is at the base of your brain, activates like a light switch. It turns on when you're in stress, and that is your sympathetic nervous system. You might have heard that term before and not really understood what it means. Your sympathetic nervous system is just your fight or flight. And again, there's more science behind it. It has to do with your vagus nerve and a bunch of hormones, but all you need to know is that's the one that's like, run, saber-toothed tiger, right? That's your sympathetic nervous system. So what can happen when your sympathetic nervous system is activated is we have some different things in the body, like a rapid heart rate, muscle tension, high blood pressure, slower digestion. If you've been constipated at all over these last like 8 months, you're probably stressed. There's dietary stuff too, but that's a big thing. If you've known me at all or been in my space, you know we talk about poop a lot because it's very, very important. And this is not going to be any exception. An increased breathing rate. You might be breathing a little faster or a little shallower. I mean, even right now, I can feel myself doing it, not because I'm stressed, but because I'm excited. be mindful of where you're breathing. Are you breathing here at the top of your chest or down here in your belly, right? And I would argue most of us day to day are totally up here in more shallow breaths. We might have low energy, insomnia, mood swings, weight changes, low libido. Honestly, the list like goes on and on and on, but these are some of the main things that happen when our body is under stress. And it's truly amazing how quickly it can change, how quickly we can go from being in balance and homeostasis to being like totally out of whack. Hormone changes are a big one when it comes to stress, things like that too. So it's interesting because I think the human body is so perfectly designed, right? And we know that, and it can do magical, amazing things. It can literally, I have a friend who's pregnant right now. We were talking about this yesterday. You can literally grow a person from scratch. Like, that's amazing to me. It's so wild. And also, I think it's important that we recognize that we're kind of fragile too. There's not a whole lot protecting my heart from the outside world, right? I mean, we're talking like a matter of inches. And the balance within our body is very easily swayed, especially when we're under times of chronic stress or chronic toxicity, things like that, okay? So this is hopefully gonna help you just to kind of wrap your brain around what's actually happening in your body. And I want you to imagine, instead of like when you're under acute stress, say you got into a car accident or something, your heart is gonna beat really, really, really fast. And then it's gonna relax as you kind of calm down. If you're in chronic stress, you might not have a super fast heart rate, but it's gonna be a little elevated. And if you're not tracking that, you probably won't even notice. But imagine the strain on your heart if it's a little bit elevated for 8 months. So this is where stress response and dealing with that can really come into play. Again, if you follow me on social media, we kind of been talking about this a little bit too. I'm not going to tell you to like manage your stress. I've always hated that, like nails on a chalkboard, because to me, if I can manage something, I can control it, right? If I'm like a manager, I can control your schedule. I can control when you take your lunch break. I can control when payroll comes out. We can't necessarily control our stress. We can, however, control our responses to that. So if you hear me start saying like stress response instead of stress management, and you're like, what's wrong with you? That's where that language is coming from. It's simply because I don't like the term stress management, and I think that we should break up with it personally. Okay, so let's kind of yin and yang here. So we have our sympathetic nervous system, that's the fight or flight. And then we have our parasympathetic nervous system. This is our rest and digest. So if you are not in a parasympathetic state, your body is not resting and digesting properly. That's just like basic science there, okay? So this is your body's natural way of relaxing. Again, the body is magical. It's amazing. It's designed by divine creation. It's incredible, but we have to be able to give it this like really good environment in order for it to be able to do its thing, right? So there are lots of different ways to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. I won't tell you, like, I'm sure you know a lot of the stress management techniques anyway, right? Like, you can meditate, and you can read a book, you can go for a long walk or exercise. So we're just gonna go over a few that you might not know, or things that maybe you once knew that you haven't been implementing, so that you can at least have a couple key takeaways of things that you could do. Like, as soon as we hop off our call, you could take 5 minutes and do 1 or 2 of the things on this list and activate that parasympathetic nervous system. It might even be something to where like you need to set an alarm on your phone for every hour, every half hour. And it's just a 2-minute window where you do one of these things, right? And that alone will really vastly help your stress response day to day, because let's be real, we're not coming down from the top of the roller coaster anytime soon. Okay, so this like chronic stress is not going away. And I know that that sounds like a little bit of a Debbie Downer thing to say, but it's the truth. And COVID-19 is still very real. We're still very much in the midst of this like election drama here in the States. It's still a thing. So anything that we can do to continue to help our body mitigate the stress is going to be really important. So something I love doing is belly breathing. We kind of talked about that a second ago. Are you breathing up here or down here? A quick way to do it, and I taught my kindergartners how to do it when I was a teacher, so you can do it too, is literally just put your hands on your belly, close your eyes, and try to make your belly pop out when you breathe in. It's really easy, well, simple, not necessarily easy, especially if you've been breathing up here your whole life, but it's a very simple tool. Do 4 of those deep belly breaths and notice the physical change in your body. For me, I kind of start to feel like tingly, like a little bit of like a hum, like a vibration in a good way, not in a my foot's falling asleep kind of way, but it's really neat. So just hold your belly and try to make it puff out and activate your diaphragm there. What that does is it actually puts pressure on your vagus nerve. That's the one that runs down from your base of your skull down your spine. And when we turn on that vagus nerve, we relax and we activate our parasympathetic response. Alternate nostril breathing is a big one. If you do any kind of yoga or yoga nidra, you probably already know this. Literally all you're gonna do, I use my thumb and my ring finger usually. You just breathe in through one side and out through the other. And then in through that same side and out through the other, right? Super simple. But again, it's like something we're not necessarily cognizant of. This is kind of a sidebar, currently in the midst of doing some therapy with a really good friend of mine who does myofunctional therapy. And we're talking a lot about airway and how most people go throughout the day breathing through their mouth and not their nose for lots of different reasons. When you are mouth breathing, even if it's like just slightly open or at night, you are in a sympathetic state, not a parasympathetic state. So try to remind yourself of that simple thing too. Maybe even like, I know people lip tape at night to try to keep their mouth shut, or during the day. Put a little sticky note on your computer that says breathe through your nose. When you are running, I know we're taught to breathe in through our nose, out through our mouth. Try very hard to breathe in through your nose, out through your nose. Because when you exhale out through the mouth, you're expelling a ton of carbon dioxide and you are back in a sympathetic state. And we want to stay in a parasympathetic state. Fascinating when we learn about these things, right? Another really simple thing to do is put your fingers to your lips. I know that sounds super, super weird, but you actually have a lot of nerve endings in the lips. So sometimes, and now that this is such a practice for me, even when I'm like typing or I'm reading, I'll just sit here and like trace my lips with my finger. Or, you know, you could even just do it mindfully. Close your eyes, take a beat, and just trace the outline of your lips with your fingers. Some people like to tap their lips. Anything that you can do to activate the nerve endings on your lips is going to be really, really cool. Imagery. So there's a reason why everyone's like, I'm in my happy place. There's a reason why that's the thing. It literally activates your parasympathetic nervous system. So maybe this might be a longer exercise for you, but maybe you could take a minute and imagine your happy place. And maybe it's not a place you've ever been or a place that even exists. Mine isn't a place that that it exists. It's like a magical fairy tale land and it's wonderful. But maybe you need to come up with that, you know, or maybe for you, it's your childhood home, or it's, I don't know, this little tiny town in Italy that you discovered when you were backpacking in your teens, right? So think of your happy place and you can activate that imagery. And when I say that, you know, you really have to close your eyes in order for this to be, I think, really successful, because you want to shut off that sense and see how many things that you can smell in that happy place. Can you feel the cobblestones? You know, can you hear your backpack flapping behind you? Whatever that might be, and try to like get yourself in that spot. What it does is it takes you out of the current environment and puts you somewhere else so that your body can focus on rest and digest. So all of this has like scientific, you know, rationales, but hopefully you find it pretty fun. That's my hope anyway. Singing, humming, and chanting. Again, if you've taken yoga and done the right, or you've been to some different religious types of ceremonies where they're singing and there's a lot of chanting and humming, there's like a very real reason why that's happening. Because again, it's activating that vagus nerve, which will kind of promote your body to go into parasympathetic state. So, you know, put on some really like low vibrational tunes. You can do a YouTube search for this. They actually have lots of playlists on Spotify and stuff like that too. Binaural beats are huge. So think of ways where you can like sing, hum, chant, or just get those sort of tones in your ear. Sound baths are really cool. Maybe after COVID-19, or if in your area, you can actually get to a yoga studio or somewhere that's open, find one with a sound bath or singing bowls. There's totally a reason why all this works. And it's like not necessarily all that hippie woo-woo, even though we think that it is. Taking a cold shower or doing a cold plunge, even a cold compress. So it could be something as simple as taking a bag of frozen peas out your freezer and putting it on your face, right? Something super, super simple. But if you can get some cold therapy on your body, it helps to activate that parasympathetic nervous system. So again, I'm not a huge fan of cold showers either, so I like to do a compress, but maybe you take your warm shower and then for the last 30 seconds, you turn it on cold, just to kind of wake your body up and activate that vagus nerve. Laughter is huge. And this is really, it sounds kind of silly, but there's actually like a whole school of thought called laughter yoga. And I'm really excited because I have a friend of mine who is laughter yoga certified, and she's going to be doing, excuse me, doing a fun little workshop with me later, and more information to come on that. But laughter yoga is a thing. You can YouTube it if you want to do it on your own. Anything that we can do to laugh is going to be awesome for that parasympathetic state. And I want you to think of yourself as a kid, or think about the kids in your life. They're always finding something to laugh at. I mean, they're also always finding something to cry at and complain about, right? But think about like my niece just last night, I was FaceTiming with her and I said, give me a kiss. And I blew her a kiss and she went to blow me one back and ended up making like a raspberry sound, you know, like a whatever. She laughed, I mean, belly laughed so hard that it made me laugh. I had like tears coming down my face, you know? Think about that, and we lose that as adults. So how can you bring more laughter into your everyday? Maybe it's videos of puppies and kittens or whatever it is for you, but find a way to actually truly laugh. Giving yourself a massage, like a face, a neck, a foot massage, somewhere that you can touch. If you can get an actual massage, that would be awesome too, but I know that we have limitations right now. So sometimes, you know, if you and I were working together, you'll find me throughout the day just like massaging my jaw because I'm a clencher like this. Actually, I'm now the proud owner of a night guard because this is 33 and this is what we do. But you'll find me like, you know, like massaging my jaw, massaging my cheekbones, down the neck. If you have essential oils, you can incorporate that into your practice as well. Get your spouse to give you a foot massage. That's always fun too, right? Gut health is super crazy important. I won't go all into it. I do have a couple YouTube videos all about gut health and kind of how to prioritize that. At the bare minimum, please drink your water and eat something green every day. If you can do that, I promise you, you will feel better. It's not going to be an overnight thing. It's not going to be something you notice immediately, but over time, you will notice a dramatic change in your mood once you start taking care of your gut. There's actually a whole gut-brain connection, and you can read more about that on your own. But yeah, take care of your guts. They love you. You need to love them. And lastly, legs up the wall. So this is like another yoga pose. Technically, all you need to do is like scoot your booty to the edge of a wall and put your legs up. So they're in like an inversion. They're like elevated. It doesn't take any work. Even my grandma can do it, so you can too, I promise. If you need a little extra weight or you feel like, you know, you're kind of coming off the wall and it feels a little scary, you can put a blanket on top of your feet. So if your legs are up the wall, your feet are this way, you can put a blanket like that to kind of put some pressure and weight down. 10 minutes of legs up the wall, if you can make it that long, is really awesome for your parasympathetic nervous system too. So again, these are just some ideas. There are a bunch of them, but what I would encourage you to do is pick 2 or 3 off this list that sound fun to you, or that you want to do, or that you used to do and don't anymore, and try to incorporate them every day and see how you feel after a week or 10 days. I think you'll notice a really big difference. Okay, so what in the heck now do I do? Here's where you really need a game plan. So here's just kind of like a model. And this is the thing with health coaching that a lot of times my clients are like, ugh, because it's not sexy. Nobody wants to have to make a plan to manage your stress, right? That is not like, you wouldn't necessarily see that posted on the gram or on the cover of Cosmopolitan. But it's true, right? And if we don't have a plan, it doesn't happen, especially if you are a busy working professional, which I know many of you are. So here's kind of like your general 5-step outline. When you start to feel stressed, when you notice it, or when your spouse notices it because you spit at them or whatever it is, greet the stress and thank it. This sounds super hippie woo-woo, but it really kind of shifts your mood from a state of stress and tension to gratitude, because that, again, that stress response is there and it was divinely created to save you from a saber-toothed tiger. So thank it. Say thank you, stress, for being here and trying to keep me safe, because that's what it's trying to do. It's your lizard brain activating to try to keep you safe. So give it some gratitude. Activate your parasympathetic nervous system. Go back and do one of those 2 things, or 1 or 2 of those things on that list that we just talked about. Step 3, you're gonna move into joy. And this can be sometimes the hardest step for a lot of people, especially women in their 30s and beyond, because we forget how to do that. We tend to make time for everyone else and not necessarily carve out time for us. Or if we are carving out time for us, it's something that makes us money or moves the needle forward in life in some way, shape, or form, or helps someone else, right? We're not necessarily remembering to do things just for joy, just for fun. So if you haven't done this yet, it might be fun for you to make a joy list. If we were working together as private coaching client, if you were working with me as a private coaching client, I would have you do this in your first session. Where you would literally get homework to make yourself a joy list. And I would ask you to write down 25 things that bring you joy. And in the beginning, it might be really simple, you know, sitting outside with the sun on my face, watching Casablanca, it's my favorite movie, whatever that is, right? And then it's going to get a little harder. And it might even get to the point where you're like, I don't know anymore. I don't know what brings me joy because I don't make time to play. I don't make time for that. So it can be a lot of work. Once you do it and you start recognizing the fact that you're not in joy as often as you'd like to be, it's much easier to make a concerted effort to start integrating more of that into your day. And you might actually have to time block it. You know, if you're a planner and you have your Google Calendar and your physical planner and you're in that thing all the time, you might have to take a 30-minute time block out of your day and write, you know, do something that brings me joy right in there. It could also be something that you've wanted to do forever and haven't gotten up the guts to try it, right? I was talking to some friends last night and letting them know that I've been wanting to try like hula hooping and belly dancing. I have no reason to not try those things. Honestly, I've been using COVID-19 as an excuse, but let's be real. Like I can order a hula hoop on Amazon, right? So think of some of those things that maybe you want to do that might bring you joy. You might hate them, but can you enjoy the process along the way of leaning into play and trying to find the enjoyment in that journey? So step into joy. Step 4, ask yourself, how would I model a healthy stress response in this situation for a 6-year-old? It could even be for 6-year-old you if you don't have 6-year-olds or kids in your life. But you know, how would I model this for 6-year-old me or for my nephew? And I have a 2-year-old niece, and I think about that all the time. You know, if she were with me, how would I want her to see me responding to this person, this situation, this whatever, fill in the blank? That alone can really give you a really big kind of perspective shift, right? Because we all know that we carry those habits and patterns on from our childhood. So how can we kind of do a pattern interrupt for ourselves and love on that inner 6-year-old of yours? And then finally, again, this is probably the least sexy part of this whole thing, is just commit to using your tools. It's simple, it's not easy. But if you don't make a commitment to this, the stress is gonna just kind of keep railroading your life, right? And so if you are gonna make this game plan, and you're gonna use your essential oils, and you're gonna go to yoga, and you're gonna do all the things, that's great, but you actually have to commit to doing that. Some of you are gonna be able to look at this plan and be like, I can do this. I'm committed to it, I've got this, go for it. If that is not you, I have a coaching program that is starting, and I can't wait to share with you about it, but we're gonna talk a little bit more about some things first. So yeah, make that commitment to using your tools. I tell this to my oil customers all the time. Your oils don't do you any good if they sit in a drawer. They really don't. You can have every single essential oil that there is and the highest quality, but if you're not using them, they're not working for you, right? So the same thing applies to our game plan here for stress. Okay, so you know I have to talk about essential oils at some point in every webinar because they are one of my favorite tools. Here are some of my favorites for stress response. So first up is orange. It smells like walking through an orange grove. I mean, how can you not be happy when you smell that, right? It's like sunshine in a bottle, and it's wonderful and amazing. Adaptive is our calming blend. This is actually the first ever essential oil that there's been a full-blown clinical trial done on ever in the world, which is really cool. And they did it on people who have anxiety and depression, and saw huge, huge improvements with them using this oil topically and aromatically as well. So you can put it on like on your skin, over your heart, pop it in your diffuser, just even breathe it in. It's a really amazing blend. It has orange in it, some florals, some spearmint, I think. It's really yummy. So that's a good one. Balance, this is like, if you've been with me or with doTERRA for a long time, this is one of our original emotional support blends. It's my husband's favorite. It's one that I use every single morning. So this is something you can put like on the soles of your feet. That's how I start my day. So I wake up, I scrape my tongue, I brush my teeth, I put my balance on the soles of my feet. It's just like habit now at this point. You can also diffuse it or just have it around to kind of help ground and center yourself. So the adaptive is going to kind of help you feel a little bit more calm. And that's one that I would use, like, you could use it throughout the day, or you could use it like preventatively, but that's one I go to more when I'm in stress and I'm feeling like kind of anxious. Balance is one I use almost as like a preventative. So I just put it on the soles of my feet. It goes in my diffuser at night. I have a linen spray that I make with Balance just to kind of like chill everybody out. But it's absolutely one that you could gravitate towards when you're feeling like acute stress as well. And then Serenity. This is our restful blend. Weirdly enough, it's actually my dad's favorite oil, even though it's kind of, I kind of call it more of like a fruity, more of a feminine oil. It's a little on the sweeter side. It has a little bit more of those floral notes in it, but it's his absolute favorite. He keeps it in the car because he gets road rage, I think, from being a cop for so long, and he will literally just inhale it while he's driving. So typically we think of Serenity to help us like sleep and to rest, But again, we want to get into that parasympathetic state, which is that rest and digest, right? So we can be resting even when we're awake and actively doing things during the day. Our body can still be in that resting and digesting space, and Serenity can help you do that. So those are my favorites. If you have essential oils or are curious about learning more, a few other helpful tools. Copaiba is an essential oil. It's very similar. It works similarly to CBD, but it's not from the marijuana plant. So there's no THC in it. It's from a completely different plant called the copaiba plant, but it works on that endocannabinoid system, which is right where your vagus nerve is, helps you activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So this is one that I would recommend you taking internally, even though you could totally get benefits from it topically or aromatically as well. But I like the soft gels just because they're easy enough to take, and you kind of take it like a supplement. It's something that I would probably recommend you take at least once a day. It has other benefits too, like decreased inflammation, helps with your immune support, things like that. But I take it mainly to help with stress response for sure, because we can all use that. Some other helpful things are magnesium. If you are a woman over the age of 30, you probably need magnesium in your life. So you can get it in lots of different ways and forms. If you need a recommendation, let me know. But yeah, you need magnesium. It'll help you poop too, which is good. Healthy guts, healthy poop, we need magnesium in our life. Adaptogens largely come from mushrooms. So you might see there's a company called Four Sigmatic that makes a mushroom coffee mix. I love it. It's so yummy. So that's a really good one. Ashwagandha is another herb root. I think it's a root actually that you can take as a supplement to help with stress, and then copaiba as well. So I could totally overload you with all the supplement recommendations, but I won't. So here are just a few of the ones to try. And again, if you need more of a suggestion on like what brands to use or whatever, let me know. I get my copaiba from doTERRA, but these other three I order on Amazon because easy button for sure. Okay. So I mentioned to you earlier that some of you are going to be able to take your game plan and go with it. And some of you are like me and you need someone to hold your hand a little bit and tell you what to do, especially in 2020. I feel like that's where I'm at. This is why this is the year that I hired a business coach, because I was like, I just need somebody to tell me what to do and I will do it. But I simply cannot get myself to actually take action on my own. So if this is you, I have created a cool program. It's called Soul 30. Kind of a play on Whole 30, if you're familiar with that program where you eat whole foods for 30 days. So we're going to eat whole soul food for 30 days. It's going to be awesome. 30 days to less stress and more fun. Here's what's involved. We have daily 5-minute challenges. So I don't want this to be a thing where you're like, it's the holidays, it's 2020. I already have so many things happening. Like the last thing I need is to commit to something else, right? So we have daily quick challenges that should take you no more than 5 minutes. I have some weekly journal prompts and affirmations. You get an ebook that I wrote. We'll be doing a private group for accountability and fun. However, this will not be on Facebook or Instagram. I'm using a different platform that I'm kind of testing out. And it's really cool because there's no ads, there's no algorithms, and you don't actually have to join the platform at all in order to be able to engage with our community. You can just do it via email if you want, because we need to cut down on the noise. The noise of Facebook is not helping anybody mitigate stress right now. You've got some weekly coaching calls with me and some guest speakers, and then I will send you a custom essential oil roller blend. If you register by the 15th, it's $127, and it includes a bonus one-on-one call with me if you register by the 15th. The price will go up, and then I won't be able to open up one-on-one calls after that time just because my calendar will fill up by then. So that's what's going on there. We kick off November 21st, and we'll finish December 15th. So I know that that's over that Thanksgiving holiday. But again, I would argue that this is the most important time when we need this, especially if you're going to be around family or you're not going to be around family, because there's stress either way. I was thinking about it earlier today and having to call my grandma, who I told her last year that we would spend Thanksgiving with her this year, and I have to call her later today and tell her that that's just not going to be a smart move because she's 89 and she broke her ankle in COVID and I'm halfway across the country, and it literally puts my stomach in knots thinking about having to make that conversation, right? So I know it's a lot. I know it's going to be over that holiday, but I wanted to finish before Christmas with the thought process that you kind of have this game plan in place. You know what to do so you can get yourself through to the end of the year feeling really, really great, having more fun, being less stressed out, especially in light of the holidays and COVID-19. So one of the main reasons why I think this program is important, or something like it, is because we need an anchor in this time of life. And I was talking to some friends last night. Again, I'm so grateful for my tribe of incredible women. And we were kind of talking about how 2020, we've been treading water. And we're now at the point where we're drinking some of it in. Our toes are wrinkly. I cannot feel my fingers. My arms are aching, right? I've lost the bottoms of my swimsuit completely. Like, we're just floundering around, and I need an anchor or a fancy unicorn flotation device. I need something. So I want you to see whether you choose to do this program with us or you do it on your own and you just make your own self-care stress management game plan, stress response game plan. See, I even said it. Then just visualize that as like your anchor, something that's kind of keeping you grounded and anchored into the amazing and wonderful life that you have, so that you don't get totally carried away out to sea in the mess that is 2020. So I thought I would just share that with you because it was such a powerful imagery moment for me yesterday, and it's got me really, really excited to share with you. Finally, if you are brand new to essential oils, so you're not working with a doTERRA advocate or you don't already have a doTERRA account and this program sounds like something you want to do, I created a cool little bundle for you. So this allows you to get started with doTERRA, get my 4 favorite stress response essential oils, plus some copaiba soft gels and a diffuser, and hop into the coaching program at a 50% discount. If this sounds like something that you want to do, just DM me and let me know. And we can kind of get you set up. The link for the other program I will pop in the chat box here, and then it also will be emailed to you with the recording of this webinar in case you want to just hop in with the coaching program. But yeah, that's kind of what this is and what this entails. I'll give you more information if this sounds like something that's up your alley. If you're brand new to oils and you kind of want to start, peeking in. I've had conversations with a lot of people over the last few months who are like, I want to try essential oils. It's on my list. I'm too overwhelmed, right? Or that's been me. I want to read this new book. I bought 4 new books earlier this spring on like pendants and crystals and all this fun tarot and all this fun hippie stuff. I have not opened a single one of them. I want to. It's on my list, but I'm too overwhelmed. I literally need someone to hold my hand. So if that's you, you want to try oils, you're overwhelmed and stressed, I think this would be a really great option because you get some oils, you get the program, you get me to walk you through, and hopefully take out some of the overwhelm with that. If we are not already, please let's be friends. Find me on your favorite social avenue. I hang out mostly on Instagram these days. Facebook is just a bit noisy. I do not hang out on YouTube, but I do post stuff there. And then my website does have blogs that I'm getting a little bit more active with my newsletter. So come and find me, drop me an email, send me a carrier pigeon letter, whatever you need to do. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. I would love to answer any questions that you have, help you set up with like a strategy call. If you are in the space of like, I know all this, I know exactly what I need to do, I know that I have a game plan, I'm just not doing it for whatever reason, or you have some bigger health concerns that are keeping you from enacting that game plan, it might be time for us to have a conversation on what it might look like to get one-on-one support. So let me know if that's something that is of interest to you as well. I offer 30-minute free strategy calls all the time where we can set up a little health coaching strategy for you and decide if working together is for us or if you can do it on your own. And some people do decide that, and that's great too. So I am here to support you in any way. I'm so grateful that you are here. Thank you for gifting me with part of your morning. I hope you have a beautiful week, you guys, and go out there, try to do something today to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. I'm gonna go do that right now because I'm on such a high after teaching this. I can feel my heart rate elevated a little bit, but only in the best way, right? And yeah, just remember that the world cannot benefit from you and the magical things that only you can do if we're living in a state of chronic stress. And we need your magic more than ever right now, for sure. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. I will email out this recording and let me know how I can help you in the future.